This is evaluation question number 4, and it's how did you use new media technologies in the construction and research, planning and evaluation stages? So firstly, I think the internet was immensely helpful, because before becoming Swiller Productions, each member deconstructed around 15 music videos to get the general gist of codes and conventions of the music video format. And then once we became Swiller Productions, Rob Shaw, Will Spivey and I researched into Muse themselves, looked at their songs, their profile, things like that, but also looked at the wider alternative rock genre. The internet was also useful for, obviously, blogging on all of this, but also gaining feedback and promoting our music video on Twitter. As we said, we made a Swiller Productions Twitter account. We also made a Swiller Productions Facebook page, and we also used all of our YouTube channels and the iGest Media YouTube channel to promote our music video and also gain feedback from there. Specific websites we used on the internet include obviously Blogger. We used that to blog our progress from start to finish. However, we also had a look at last year's A2 blog. I looked in particular at Johnny Hughes's blog, who did extremely well last year. We've also been looking at this year's A2 blogs, so other production companies, for an example Sublime Transcendence, who aren't actually in our class, or in another class, but it's also good to see what they've been up to and how they've differed from us. Looked at music video blogs. Our media teacher has one of those. He blogged on music videos and other things, bands, just what's going down in the celebrity world, and if anyone's been in the news and things such as that. So that's also been very helpful. The Muse website has been helpful for us to keep up to date with what Muse have been doing, where they're touring, what dates, if they've been in the news, just to help us keep up to date and just know the latest news about what they're doing. Wikipedia has been helpful in a way, but people see that as the gospel of information, but it's not always that reliable. So we used it in parts, but we didn't want to specify that all the time. Other web pages we've used include Muse Bootlegs, muselive.com, Muse Forums, Muse Wiki, which obviously is like a subgenre of Wikipedia. Microcuts are all examples of some web pages we've used for research into Muse themselves. As I've mentioned, we've also used Twitter, Facebook and YouTube again. They're all extremely useful websites. But more specifically for YouTube, in particular each of our channels, we all set up a YouTube channel at the start of our AS course, which was last year. We gained feedback from other users, and especially an A2 student from last year who left a comment. So that's just to prove that obviously A2 students from last year haven't just completely forgotten about IGS. They want to comment and give us feedback on our music videos and use their experience to help us. We also use the analytics on YouTube, which basically gives us like a breakdown of the number of hits we got, a breakdown of gender, nationality for examples, but it is just a general breakdown of our music video and who's looking at it, where from, and it's really helped us for such as our target audience, things such as that. So that was YouTube's been extremely helpful for us. The new hardware which have been used in A2 has helped us with construction. Last year we didn't use HD cameras, we just used normal cameras, but this year we've stepped up to HD cameras. This has involved using SD cards as well, which is a completely new aspect for me. I've never used SD cards or HD cameras before. So basically SD cards is different from a tape, which we used last year. it's digitalisation, it just keeps moving on, and basically SD cards is just internal memory storage. This links to the new software we've been using this year, which is Final Cut Express. It's a step up from iMovie, which we used last year. Much more techniques and much more scope to make much better music videos than the film openings we used last year. We also used iMovie 11, which is a step up from the iMovie update we used last year. And linking into the SD cards, we had to import our footage into iMovie and then export it onto Final Cut Express. So it was a transition from SD card to iMovie 11, then iMovie 11 to Final Cut Express, where we start editing them. I've talked about Digipack and MagAd when we use Photoshop to edit and adapt things such as the avatar on the front cover of our Digipack, and then the protagonist, who's Rob Shaw, on the back of our Digipack. Also the image in our magazine ad from Mass Effect, and then we've got also our Digipack on a smaller version on the bottom of our magazine ad. We've also experimented with a lot of techniques on Photoshop, which have been extremely helpful. Some of the techniques we've learned on Final Cut Express include distortion. We filmed game footage which we needed to basically overlay onto some footage we filmed of Rob Shaw's computer, and we found out how to distort it so we could basically crop it down and then put it over the top of Rob's computer. So that was extremely helpful. We've used double layering, which is an advantage of last year's iMovie, which we use, which makes it much more interesting. It's a huge technique which has improved our music video. The transitions are much different. We'll be able to transition from different scenes. I've talked about the Digipack front covers where we've used to transition to different scenes. We've used colour enhancing on one of our scenes to make it look more interesting and match one of the Digipacks we've used. Obviously I've talked about the importing and exporting new footage out of iMovie 11, which has been a completely new process for me. So that's been interesting to learn all of this new, basically new software and hardware and media technologies that I've been able to use in A2. It's been a big step up from AS. The music video format has been harder to edit and adapt, but it's been encouraging to see some of the feedback we've got, which is quite good. And it's been good to play around with things on the internet which we wouldn't have been able to do last year. The new software, the new hardware. So I think we've used a lot of new media technologies